Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the panel, LeadHers, Women Leadership of Today, at the launch of Ashoka Report, Advancing Women Social Entrepreneurs in ASEAN. This event is organized by Ashoka and S&P Global Foundation. My name is Nani Zulminarni from Indonesia. I'm the founder and director of PEKKA, Women-Headed Family Empowerment, and an Ashoka Fellow since 2007. It is a great honor to have all of you and to have our distinguished speakers with us from Asia, Pacific, and Arab region, whom I will introduce shortly. Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand, Tsai Ing-wen of Thailand, and Angela Merkel of Germany have all been singled out as the best leaders in handling the coronavirus pandemic in their respective countries. Media wrote how these women leaders demonstrating care, empathy, and a collaborative approach, which stereotypically described as feminine characteristic. It is, of course, wonderful to see women leaders and feminine leadership being praised so widely during the pandemic. However, we don't want to be trapped into emphasizing the stereotypical characteristic of leaders themselves. Good leaders and effective leadership must highly skilled, qualified, and experienced, and supported by conducive system. Women might have unique leadership style and distinguished way of leading, since women live in the patriarchal system, facing different challenges and experiences in their leadership. So to have further conversation on this matter, I'm happy to introduce our four distinguished panelists. Let me invite them to introduce themselves. Maybe I start from Jimbo from the Philippines. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes, very well.
All right, a pleasant day to everyone. Thank you, Nani. As Nani has mentioned, my name is Jimbo Borja. So first and foremost, I hope you and your loved ones are all doing well despite the current situation brought about by the pandemic. As a form of an introduction, I oversee the operations of S&P Global in the Philippines. We are currently 900 strong in Manila. Again, I just want to say thank you for inviting me to be part of this event. It is truly an honor and a pleasure to be here. I'm also very humbled and excited to be part of this esteemed panel of speakers. Again, thank you. Back to you, Nani.
Thank you, Jimbo. So do we have Cynthia on yet? Cynthia? No, maybe. Okay, so let's invite Iman Bibars from the Arab region. She was mentioned by the Vice President of the Philippines in the introduction, in the opening remarks.
I know. Good morning, everybody. It gave me Sabah al Khair in Arabic, which means good morning. Thank you so much for having me on this panel. Enjoy, everyone. And hi, Jeroo, and Nani, my friend. Can you hear me, guys? Good. I am very honored to be here. I am the Vice President of Ashoka Global. Thank you. I am the Vice President of Ashoka Global and the Diamond Leader and founder of Ashoka Arab World. I am also the founder of WISE, which is Women Initiative for Social Entrepreneurship. It's a program that Ashoka, or an initiative that Ashoka has started. We have started it from the region in the south, but we're leading it in a global way. And we are happy to have all of you with us. I am again very honored. I just want to add to what Nani said. The only governorate province in Egypt that has no COVID at all cases is also a governorate led by a woman. I just want to say it because I'm a woman. Have a great day.
Thank you, Iman. So now I will invite Jeroo to introduce herself. Jeroo, maybe you are still in mute. We cannot hear you.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Jeroo Billimoria. I am a dinosaur, I say, in the Ashoka family because I've been an Ashoka fellow for many, many, many years. I think since 1996. So that's a long time. And I have started multiple social enterprises. I started in India and I'm currently based in the Netherlands. So, yeah.
Thank you, Jeroo. Welcome. And do we have Cynthia here? Cynthia Ong from Malaysia.
We can't see her, can we?
Yeah, we can see her. I think technical issues.
Cynthia is just having a few difficulties. I'm going to try and get her on, okay?
Okay, so we shall continue
Yes,
and
please,
we
yeah.
get back with Cynthia later. Okay, all right. This is conversation around the women leaders and leadership. So if you have question or intervention, you can write in the chat box. We will get back to you later. But first of all, I would like to start with first question to all the panelists. My first question will be very, we want to hear your personal reflection and experiences. What is the breakthrough moment when you realize that women leadership have distinguished style of leading, which allow for different ways of in decision making? So maybe Jimbo, you can also share what is your observation. I would like to start with Iman.
Okay, I just want to say I want to thank the President of the Philippines for mentioning me. I'm very honored. And the team, of course, that did the research. I've always been concerned with women, and my background, I've been a women advocate since ever. But I also think that we, because of the way we are socialized and the challenges we face since we are kids as women, we have a unique way. I don't think it's different. It's just a reaction to how we are raised as women, that we have to do things. So that's why we learned how to really struggle and fight, and we always every woman in Ashoka has overcome the challenges. But I remember it came really clear to me when I was at school in 2007, and we were doing a study in Ashoka, and 40% of our fellows were women. And then I looked at how, when we considered somebody has succeeded, it was only the mainstream definition of success, which is scaling, what they call it, scaling up. And it's then that I started studying more our fellows across the globe, including Jeroo, my friend. And I discovered that no, we have a different way of success. And it's not because we are different, it's because the mainstream is having a very business-minded way of measuring success. And this is when I started talking about scaling up, scaling deep, and scaling out. And I realized that women collaborate. Actually, women do not compete. It's only that we have to compete with each other because the jobs that were offered are jobs that we are given only for women. But we do not compete, we collaborate. And Nani is a big example of her work, and Jeroo and myself in my other organization. And we work through institutions and we work through the government. So in any case, that's when really it hit me that we have to highlight this, because we have unique ways of doing things, and we do succeed, and we do have an impact. We just need the world to understand that and understand the new measurement.
Thank you, Iman. Wow. Okay, maybe Jeroo, you can add, or based on your experiences, reflections. Jeroo, you're still mute.
Sorry, I totally agree with Iman. Collaboration is the core to the way a woman thinks. I think it's how, like we have been socialized, and many people with 3 of my social enterprises, they went global really very fast. And even now what we are doing with Catalyst, which is the latest venture where Ashoka is a founding member, the essence to all my enterprises is collaboration and co-creation. So in addition to saying what Iman says about collaboration, I think women tend to not say, oh, this is my idea and this is how we do it. We always want to co-create. So I think that's another thing which I will always look at. And because we take people along, we are able to facilitate faster collaborations and co-creations, and we are listening much more. So I think that is something which is very important. If I look at it, currently I have started 4 global organizations and one very large national one, and across all of them, the principles which are most important to me are collaboration and co-creation and shared change. And therefore, also when people nowadays talk about systems change, I say, please don't talk about systems change, talk about collaborated systems change. Because only through collaboration can smaller organizations work together to tilt the needle much faster. So we need to move away from this mindset, which is still there, of big, large, 100 billion, 100 million euro organizations to a collective of a lot of small organizations or mid-sized organizations coming together to change. So I think women leadership will start tilting that balance much more. And so agree to collaboration, insist on co-creation, and my third C is always client-centered. Women tend to listen. We've been programmed to listen. And that's why Angela Merkel and everyone else is so good, because we are programmed to listen, and because we listen to our clients, we actually are more effective. And COVID has shown that. So I add to collaboration 2 other points.
Okay, so some keywords, then we will highlight later. So we have lucky to have Jimbo here as a man, and the only man in our panels, I think. So what do you think, Jim? What is your reflection? And I know you have a lot of interaction with women leaders. You also one of your focus also on growing women leadership in our region.
Thank you, Nani. I am the only thorn among the roses, and I'm very, very honored to be part of it. But yeah, I mean, the question on finding that breakthrough moment, if you think about it, when I think about it, I don't really have to go that far, right? When I was growing up, when I was young, when I was living in the house, my mom, now that I'm married, my wife, I mean, we have made decisions, and the thought process of my mother and my wife are quite different from the thought process of mine and even my father's, right? And I think one of the ideas that come into mind is, I guess, the attentiveness to detail of women and how they could peel every layer of an overall situation and come up with decisions that are kind of accepting or observing the whole facet of a given situation, right? That's why I think, like, I know people have mentioned about how, you know, the people, the leaders in Germany, Taiwan, and even New Zealand have, you know, completely won this war over the pandemic. And because I think that's one of it, they see all of these layers. And in our office, we have women leaders all around us, and it is always not always a surprise anymore that sometimes or most of the time, their view complements our view, right? So it's really like what you said, it's not a competition, it's collaboration, it's the inclusivity of all of these things that make it a better yield or a better result later on. So I hope, Nani, that I'm able to kind of share my views as maybe the male participant in this group when it comes to this question.
So that's very powerful. So how the thought process is different between father and mother, and as Iman at the beginning says, that because we face the challenge, difficult challenge living in the patriarchal system to grow our leadership. That's train us as women leaders with some values and principle, collaborative, cooperation, shared change, and all the things. So what do you think is what you all think as the what you call biggest, you already mentioned the biggest strength of female leadership in this current context where our world is so dynamic and so challenging with all the problems we face, not only the pandemic, but also other things. What do you think the women leadership contribution because of their strength in this sense? Iman, maybe you can start again.
One thing, Jimbo, we can be thorns too. So you're not the only thorn. We're not all. But I also would I'd like us to highlight that we are not different, because the different would always put us in a box. As I said, and as you, Nani, said, we are socialized and we have different skills because of the way we have to work in the world, you know, like the way they don't let us play football, they make us only play zero-sum games. So we learn that it is a zero-sum game and you don't win, like, or you don't do football when you're a kid, so you don't do teamwork. So I think it's very important to say we are not different. And actually, a lot of the things I'm going to say about women social entrepreneurs is in many male social entrepreneurs too. Because so it is not how different we are as gender or species. It's just that how we were socialized differently, and we are not recognized for what we are doing because the mainstream has not recognized that. But I also think that as Jeroo, actually one of the things I've learned when I met Jeroo hundreds of years ago, because I'm a dinosaur too, Jeroo, was that she said, I said, how did you, the first one, the hotline, how did you manage to go all over India and the world? And she said, let go. Collaboration, co-creation, and let go. Have 5 principles. See, I didn't forget. 5 principles, like the logo and couple of things, and then you give it to somebody and let go. And I think this is very important, very, very, I've studied hundreds of Ashoka female or women social entrepreneurs, and this is it. We are cause-driven. So we go into, in your study, you said that women choose very difficult causes. Yes, causes that are relevant to us. So we are cause-driven. We want to solve the solution. We don't want to have franchises. We don't want to have our names in big newspapers at the beginning, but we want the cause to be in the newspaper. And this is very important. And as she said, we collaborate to co-create, but also we work within the system, which is important because if you really want to scale deep, if you want to affect peoples and generations, you go in and try to change people's minds. And then, so scaling deep is working with behavior, with attitudes, which means that generations to come will change. Scaling up is changing policies, which if you change a law, when we changed the law in Egypt in 2003 for nationality, 17 million kids are now able to go to school because their mothers married a non-Egyptian, but now they can give the nationality to their kids. And this is my other NGO. So we do have an impact, we just don't know how to show it. So we collaborate within the system, we scale deep, we scale up, and we scale out.
Scale out. Okay. Thank you, Iman. We add more on all this, the quality of female and women leadership, which is distinguished in the system. Okay, Jeroo, maybe?
I don't know what to say because Iman has said a lot already. So all I can say is that I was so entranced listening to Iman, and I want your case study on the law that you changed, because when we are talking about systems change, this needs to get documented. So Iman, I would really like that. Where I talk of leadership and how it is different, I think, I always say it's an old Chinese saying, I think, and then I link it to an Indian one. And this is I had a colleague from China, and he said, in China, we say it's the neck which makes the head move. And I think that's women. We are the neck which make the head move. We are used to being in the background. So I think that is something which is very important. But my journey as a woman, and I say is as a woman entrepreneur, and I've noticed this with a lot of women entrepreneurs, not just social entrepreneurs, but women in general, it's one of my favorite sayings, okay? You have something which originates in the mountains, a river which will originate in the mountains, and it goes to the sea, correct? Women are like that. We will find different ways to reach our destination. And it really doesn't matter how or when, but the destination or the purpose is what is important. And that is what we try to look at. So the mountain, the river can go one way, then it will find another tributary, it can have a waterfall, it can become huge, it can become small. And I think the way women operate is where the purpose stands out and we change our functioning to reach the purpose. And always stay, more often than not, women entrepreneurs prefer not to be in the limelight. And I think that is one of the main reasons they achieve a lot more impact, a lot faster.
Yeah. You said sometimes women's working in silent arena, yeah? So it's nobody recognized, but they make change at the ground and very deep down there. Okay, how about you, Jimbo? What your observation and your interaction with women leaders and leadership? What do you think their strength and contribution to make
Right.
change?
Actually, Nani, if you can indulge me, what I wanted to share, I mean, at S&P Global, we're all about data and research, right? So I'd like to share some points. And like I said, in our organization, we have a campaign called #ChangeSpace. And what we do here is we illuminate the power of essential intelligence to increase the awareness and advance discussions all over, no, on the benefits of a more inclusive workforce. And in this particular data that I will share with you, this talks about women, right? So in the research, if, it is proven that if the US, for example, hired and promoted women at the same rate as countries like Norway since 1970, the economy could grow by 8% or $1.6 trillion, right? According to McKinsey, around the world, gender diverse companies are 15% more likely to earn more than their competitors. In addition, if women participate in the economy identically to men, the global GDP can increase by 26% or $28 trillion by 2025. In India alone, if they become more diverse, their economy can grow by 60%. And in the US, according to American Express, revenue of women-owned companies have increased by 103% in the last 20 years. So if you take a look at it, that kind of just sums up, you know, the participation and the power of a gender diverse workforce. And you know what's very glaring here is that gender equality does not only benefit women, it benefits everyone, right? So to your point a while ago, it's not about competing, it's about collaborating, co-creating, cooperating, right? And these data are very, very compelling reasons on why we should be pushing for this even more in this day and age.
Excellent. Yes. Wow. Amazing. That's not what you call, not included yet the unpaid care work that women usually contribute, right? So it's still there, still out of the calculation of the GDP, women unpaid care, which is very much to demonstrate women leadership in the family, in the society, in the community. Women do a lot of. So with that, I would like to lead my question is on the challenge. It's not easy. So, you know, Iman, Jeroo, we know it's not easy for us to grow to this level. There are a lot of obstacles. Maybe you can share some of that. Now let's start with Jimbo. Maybe Jimbo, if you can share your thought on the women from male perspective.
Yeah.
What are the female leaders' obstacles?
Yeah. So
challenge.
I don't think it really is a challenge for women leaders, right? Because I think what we need to do is continue, as like the vice president has mentioned, right? We have to continue to find means and ways and programs to empower women in all sectors of society, right? So for example, in our company, there's a huge thrust to actually make this a reality. Mentorship programs specifically designed for women, adding these goals to our metrics and our scorecard when it comes to gender diversity to ensure that there is a healthy mix of women leaders in senior management positions of the company, not just in the workforce, but in leadership positions, right? Talking about mentorship programs, I'd like to talk about a program that is being done in S&P Pakistan, where they have collaborated with the US-Pakistan Women Council, and it's called a Million Women Mentors Program. S&P Global in Pakistan has pledged to mentor 20,000 women as support to this program, right? So as you can see, what we need to do here is find these allies in society, in the corporation, in the organization, and create that inclusive workforce, right? So that these challenges, or I wouldn't say perceived, but real challenges are actually met head on. Other things that we do in our company, just to close, are, you know, we have women in technology. We know that women kind of have a hard time really going to this industry. I think I'll digress a little bit from the programs of S&P Global. Maybe other women, people in technology, should go to the grassroots in schools, start talking and inspiring women to be in this field and say, look, I have made it, right? I think we need more women mentors who can actually talk to women and say, hey, you know what? It's okay to be a mom. It's okay to have several children and still pursue a career and be a social entrepreneur. I've gone through it.
right? I think that support system has to be there. And I think that should be very, very powerful in ensuring all of these things can happen.
Okay, so the challenge is to really find means and ways to help women overcome the challenge at different contexts they face, right? Okay, how about in Arab region, Iman?
I was surprised. Okay, well, I think the Arab region, of course, but I also think in general. I just want to say a couple of things first. I mean, I think all of us here, and I keep on repeating this because this is what I believe, and a lot of the women leaders have already overcome challenge. So I think it's very important to say that we have overcome challenges. That's why we are here. And that every girl, like Jimbo was saying, should understand that there are women who overcome challenges and we're willing to support them. I also think that it is not only about increasing the number of women anywhere, it's increasing the right people, whether they're men or women. And so if we have somebody like Jimbo, who is a real, empowered, he believes in women abilities and capabilities, I would take him much more than a woman who doesn't think so. So it is not about gender, sex, as much as about gender understanding. And I think this is important. Saying that, I think in the Arab world, but everywhere, and especially for social entrepreneurs, I think the measurement of success has been wrong. And I'll be very, we have all talked about scaling up in the mainstream literature, and it meant reaching more people. Now, if you're selling hamburgers and you say, I reached 10 million people, then you made $10 million. So your KPI is you have made $10 million. But if I am somebody talking about FGM or wife battering, and I talk to a million people, how many people have been affected? So we have redefined in WISE, in our program, how we define success so that it suits what women do and the causes. Scaling up, as I said before, is changing a law. Now, a lot of women would say, I changed the law. We have our fellow in the UK who put the SDG of climate in the SDG goals. But how many billions has she affected by doing that? She doesn't present it that way, nor the world understand it. Scaling out is reaching more people. Scaling deep is all what Jeroo and you, Nani, and I have done, which are trying to change patterns of behavior, values, beliefs that are, for example, bad for women, or many of the examples on the study of how we're trying to get kids not to be soldiers, or how we're trying to get divorced women to be empowered and people to respect them. When we change 10 people, 100 people, we're actually changing the generations to come and their families. So I think the measurement is very important. And I'm talking to Jimbo here because he is, as a partner and a donor and a big program. We have to ask everyone to change how they measure success, because scaling deep, scaling out, and scaling up is the future if we want to showcase how women have overcome challenges.
Wow, yes. I very much agree. I'm very much support that how we change the measurement of success with more looking at the change on mindset, go deep from what only count how many women participate, how many women doing this, how many women can be reached, but more to change the wholesale. In Ashoka, we call it changemakers, right? Okay, Jeroo, what about you? What is your, what do you think the biggest challenge that women leaders and leadership face?
Actually, I think both Jimbo and Iman have talked about the macro. So I'm not going to talk about the macro. I think they've done it really well. I'm actually going to talk about the micro and more day-to-day. For a woman to do something, it is far more difficult because she has to balance family, she has to balance everything related to school, everything. So I think if real change has to come, there has to be a supportive ecosystem for women to be able to do that. And I think somewhere we need to also, whereas we look at the macro ecosystem, we look at how you have programs to empower and support. I think we also need to look at how can we make day-to-day life easier for the average working class woman so she has the support system to be able to go and pursue her dreams. And I currently don't think that is happening to the extent it should happen. So somewhere I think the biggest challenge is changing the mindset of, we focus a lot of women. So actually I'd love Jimbo's point of perception on this, but it's as important to focus on the men working with us as women to be able to change the ecosystem. Because as I speak from Indian context, so for that matter, I live in the Netherlands, even from the Dutch context, all the emphasis is on, oh, you must succeed, but you must also make sure that everything else, home is perfect, the meals are on time, this is on time. Boom, if you're traveling, make sure that everything is arranged with that. But if we have to bring about change, then men have to be equal partners in that change process at the micro level. And I think somewhere we need to address that. We are not addressing that enough. And I think that is probably one of the biggest challenges which we need to look at. So, because they've talked about the others, I'm bringing this one, and I would love to go back. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I think you perfectly lead to the next focus in this conversation. I think what can we imagine when the gender equality in leadership are achieved? What we can how this the power dynamic and decision and sharing power dynamic and decision making in different levels happen? What do you think on this? Jeroo already mentioned from the very private level in the household how women burden can be decreased by supported system, and also Jimbo already give a lot the macro calculation if women look at this, and maybe you can add more on this aspect, about the power sharing and all this kind of aspect in women and men leadership. Jimbo?
I spoke about the data already in terms of what women, right, can bring into society, summarizes it and all of that. But if you think about it, the sharing of power and the dynamics there is just really complementary to each other, right? I like our conversation the other day with Iman, when we kind of say that at the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? We need to find respect for each other, treat each other the right way, and understand that each individual is unique. And because the individuals are unique, that is what makes it beautiful. I know I'm talking arbitrary here, but what I'm trying to say is that unique ideas, unique individuals, inclusivity in all of these areas actually bring out better results, right? And I don't want to go back to the data already because I have already stated that. But that is really my take on this. And again, just to point to Jeroo's statement earlier, male allies are very, very important in sharing this dynamic, right? So if we and women can understand each other, we need to make that reality. We have to find infrastructures, policies that will enable women to be successful in the workplace. So for example, a mom shouldn't be worried about not being able to meet deadlines because they have kids. Let's allow a flexible work schedule. Let's allow them to work from home. Let's find companies if they can provide daycare services so that moms don't have to worry about those little things. Because time and again, I have heard that the women take a back seat not because they feel that they cannot do it, but because they feel they have to do a certain change in career in terms of, I need to manage or handle my family first before I can do this. Why not open the doors to be able to change that, right? So that we can share in all of these responsibilities, whether it be at home, in the office, or outside of the office in terms of society. So I'll stop there because I know that Iman and Jeroo will also be sharing their thoughts.
Yes, so Iman.
Again, I mean, I am so honored to be on this. Cannot believe I haven't been in a panel where we agree on everything like this. So thank you, guys. I would like to start by saying that sometimes, and it's a little bit complementary to what Jeroo and Jimbo said, that we have forgotten, sure, everywhere that gender does not mean women. You know, we keep on, when everybody said, oh, it's a gender session, then we all talk about women. Gender was initially started to talk about the relationships and the dynamics between men and women. And I agree again with Jimbo when I said we are all human beings. And if we stop thinking of you're a man and I'm a woman, and we're all human beings who should be good people with each other, again, the number of women is not important as long as the right person is in place. I think this will be important. Now, to go back to the idea of how can we have gender equity, which means that all the human beings have respect and equal opportunities, and this is important. I think one of the things that Jeroo was talking was the different roles of women, that women have a reproductive role and care role, and then also professional role. And I think if we make the personal political, this is an old feminist saying, I am very old, as you know, dinosaur. And that is when, I always say it in Arabic, but also I do it in English. When we say reproductive health or reproductive rights, we should not look at it as just a word. Actually, we are reproducing society. So if the world, if the governments, if the policies, if the companies, as Jimbo was saying, looks like I am doing the society a favor and a task by reproducing. So it should not be looked down at that I'm going to be a mother and I'm going to take time off and I'm going to work from home. The personal must be political. If we don't, we are the mothers of presidents and ministers and saints and the Pope and everybody. Because and that is a role that should be taken as a role that is a political role where a man can come and work with her and society can work with her. But it has to come in our minds. We are only going to have equal anything until our role, again, the measurement of our role. I always talk about how society looks at us. It is not that, oh, she's going home because she has to work and take care of her kids. Actually, we are doing a favor to society. We are reproducing the next generation, and the man has a role too. So again, I will end with this. We have a lot of young people across the globe now having depression and are frustrated, and a lot of kids actually kill themselves because the family is no longer a unit as it used to be. And the family is the mother and the father, and they both have to bring the society. Because at the end, all what we're doing is we want a healthy society. Whether we work with women or men or children, that is the goal. We want a healthy society, and the unit of the healthy society is the family. And we should go back to it where all roles are respected and complementary and interchangeable too. So it's not just complementary, interchangeable. He can stay home too and work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's very, very good point on personal is political. The reproductive roles of women actually is not like on the biological responsibility of women, but it's reproduce citizens, reproduce leaders. So it's not, it should be appreciated and also treated as that. Jeroo, do you still have any additional for this part? Okay, so I will to my last points. If we vision the equality, gender equality in this world, and women play a significant equal roles and position, especially in this the whole system, what we can imagine the world look like. What is our vision for women's leadership and women's leaders in this world? Who would like to start first? Maybe Jeroo?
I think it should be equal. I think there should be, I think hopefully in the next decade, as many women in leadership positions as there are men, as many women across the workforce as there are men, as many women in technology, like Jimbo said, probably as there are men. But yeah, given that I'm technologically, I don't know, but you think differently. But yeah, I think I agree. I think basically, even if there's not equality, I think there should be, so I think there should be, at least in leadership, there should be equality. We should recognize that women are different in some ways, men are different in some ways, and some careers may be more male dominated, some may be more female dominated. But I think the important point here is choice, that everyone should have the choice to go to wherever they choose to go to. So for me, first is equality, second is choice, And the last thing I think is, I go back to, as a woman and as a mother, the most important is, are we as mothers bringing our children up to think equitably? Or are we saying, oh, you're a boy, you don't need to do this. Oh, you're a girl, you don't need to. So I would say starting the change with ourselves. I live in the Netherlands, and there are so many days when my son comes home and says, Mom, and Netherlands is supposed to be extremely progressive, right? And my son comes home and says, Mom, why are you making me do a girl's job? I'm like, what do you mean? The kitchen, one day yours, one day your sister's. And I think these are the mental constructs we need to, as leaders, be breaking, because like Iman said, tomorrow our children could be the prime ministers, the presidents, the business heads, and if they have constructs in their mind, they will carry this. So if we have to have a change in 10 years, we need to start with ourselves, our families, our offices, our environments. That's what I would say.
Okay, thank you, Jeroo. Jimbo, what do you think? What do you think we should do in order to reach that vision? You know, the gender equality, equal power dynamic in all the systems.
I think I couldn't agree more with Jeroo. I think it has to start with the grassroots. Inclusivity is not coming up with programs, or as what Iman said, success measures like scorecards and all of those things. Inclusivity is a mindset. It has to be innate, right? I think I gave an example in one of my conversations that in the workplace, we are in the boardroom or we are in a meeting, and then suddenly all the men talk about the ball game last night or how they went to this bar and had so many beers and did all these things, not thinking that maybe some of the people in that room are not interested in that. Or in India, for example, when I travel there, men are constantly asking to go, hey, Jimbo, would you want to go and smoke with us? And then once we smoke outside, we start talking about things at work, not keeping in mind that, hey, we actually left some of our women colleagues who are actually part of this group. And then when we come back, we have already formulated some of these concepts. So as you can see, inclusivity is a mindset that has to be innate. Every time you do something, it has to be second nature. And that, to me, once we achieve that, like what Jeroo has mentioned, like, why are you asking me to do things for women, right? That's not the case. Everyone can do anything and everything depending on what she wants to do and what she is meant to do, right? So once we have that, I think that, again, I don't have to look so far. Iman said it, the family is the basic unit of society. My wife and I have a very collaborative and cooperative working relationship in running a family. And because of that, life has been so much better ever since we have gotten married, right? So I'll end with that because I think that for me says it all. So thanks, Nani.
Thank you, Jimbo and Iman. So you are, as the founders and wise, I think you what you want to do more with that, to have as many as possible leaders, female leaders in the world.
Well, I just want to say something to Jeroo, that I discovered with my son that actually we no longer raise our kids alone. I mean, I should write a book of how I said things, and then he came back from my mother or the driver or his friends and the social media. So life is much tougher now to raise a kid, really nightmarish. However, if we really want to change the world so that we empower everybody who deserves to be empowered, and where all human beings are treated with respect, so, you know, with respect, I think we need to think of a couple of things, especially women. One of it, and I will always say it, and that's why I'm here, South to South collaboration is important. I think we need to start from the South to talk to each other, work with each other, because of so many things in common, and to start influencing the ecosystem, because we are on the ground and we are the ones, you know, instead of someone writing about us, we should be writing about ourselves. And so I think South to South collaboration between us, like the four of us, and the voice has to be heard, because we have wonderful maybe some people might be more privileged and they don't know about it, but we know what's going on the ground. So I think this is important. I will go back to personal is political, and what Jeroo and what Jimbo have said about the family and the grassroots. once personal is political, once we are respected for what we are and who we are, once motherhood is respected so we don't undermine a woman who chose to be a mother, she's reproducing society. So choices, and once the roles are not just complementary but interchangeable, which means it's not that I complement just the man, we could exchange jobs, we could exchange roles, you know, I think that will be important. So, and of course the definition of success. I know I am in WISE, that's what we keep on saying. Once we start redefining success, more respect for what we do will be recognized by the mainstream, and more that we can influence the mainstream, and people will recognize a mother who raised a kid who is very successful, although she was poor, should be recognized that she was a wonderful fighter, not just a nice mother, you know. But anyway, so again, South to South collaboration, personal is political, redefining success would be the way for an equal society for everyone.
Wonderful. I think that's very powerful closing statement, Iman. We have around 7 minutes. I'm not sure, I don't know if we can take some question. If you have a question, otherwise I will reserve around 3 minutes for my highlight some points from this conversation. I don't see a lot of complimentary from the participants here. Agree with what you all said, the panelists. I think this is a good news. A lot of people actually already aware what the importance of women's and women's leadership. Any question? So this is from Angelica Garofilo. How can be an introvert women be empowered? Who would like to take this? How can be an introvert woman
Go for it.
be empowered?
Angelica, I am an absolute introvert. If you see me in most public meetings, I prefer to be in the corner. So I think we should not look, and I still think I'm very empowered. And I think the best way for that, being an introvert and having been empowered, is I think two things. One is I was very lucky to be socialized by a very feminist mother who said, whatever you do, just believe in yourself and go for it, and then it will happen. So I think that was one thing. And two is use your introversion as your strength. Because being an introvert, one-on-one conversations are much better than group conversations. And actually, you can get much more out of one-on-one conversations or small group conversations. So convert what you think is a weakness into a strength would be what I'd say. That's all.
Okay. I have been warned that we need to wrap up and go to the main stage. I just few point that about women and women leadership. We are talking about some keyword about the process, means and ways and values and the principle. And also my measurement of success is one very important things that need to be considered. Supportive system, personal is political, and also manage the power, how we manage the power dynamic started at the grassroots. That's what Jimbo says. And how to build the enabling factors to build inclusive system with the empathic attitude of everyone. And of course, the collaboration between communities, a state and the region, as Iman underlined, that we need to collaborate between South and South to really make a big change. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for the panelists. It is wonderful, great. Thank you, Iman, for coming to our region, and we look forward to more interactions later. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So let's go back to the main stage for the other program. Bye. We leave this stage and go to the main stage.
I think we go to the main stage.
Yes.